Hey BookTube, welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and it's time for a 7 on Sunday. I'm really trying hard to keep up with these, but I'm really bad at it. I just missed last Sundays for the last November 7 on Sunday. So I'm actually filming this early. Okay, so this is created by Grace from G Swizz BookTube channel. It's like I said, top five. It's like top five Wednesday, but it's 7 book related things on a Sunday. Okay, so this one is new to you authors. So in there, basically, they don't have to be new authors or debut authors. They can be authors that are just new to you, or they can be debut authors. Okay, so the first one I said was Seanan McGuire. She is the author of Middle Game and the Wayward Children series, which is a series of novellas. And I wasn't a big fan of Middle Game, but I did like the Wayward Children series so far. I've not read Come Tumbling Down because it has not come out as an audiobook yet. But so I'm a little bit behind in that series, but this was such a unique series. It's about basically like what if like Dorothy and Alice and the Pevensies, kids like that. What if they came back to our world, to the real world, and they realized they couldn't go back to these magical worlds? Which actually, now that I think about it, they do come back. So scratch that. What if instead we see the aspect of them coming back and how they deal with that, and what if everyone saw them as crazy and they were going through this PSTD and they wanted to go back to those other worlds. This is what the Wayward Children series, and there is a school for those type of kids. And each book has a different main character, and each book explores another world. And there's a lot of representation in the series. I really like Jack and Jill's characters. I think their will is the most interesting to me. There's one character, I wish I could remember his name, that is introduced in the first book. He's or at least how the he's a bit of a southern boy, a southern boy, and I really like him, but I cannot remember his name. Although I think I should say they, not boy, because I think he is transgender. I think it's been a while since I read that, so I should actually say the correct word is they or them. I'm not 100% sure on that one though, but I think this character is a they. But it's such a fun and really engaging series. Like I said, it has a lot of representation, a lot of LGBTQ representation. And all these worlds are so unique and different from each other. And Seanan McGuire just creates this unique world. So it's really just the series in general. Because like I said, I didn't like a Middle Game. I couldn't get into it. So I might check. So she's an author that I might check out her other works as well at some point. Next is Shirley Jackson. I've only read her one book so far. I do want to read We Have Always Lived in the Castle by her, but I read The Haunting on Hill House, or at Hill House, The Haunting of Hill House. And this is, of course, the haunted house story that kind of started it all. It was inspired Stephen King for Rose Red, and it was such a creepy book, a psychological horror, and it's just very interesting. And she just seems like such an interesting author, and I definitely want to read more of her backlist as well. Like I might listen to We Have Always Lived in the Castle on audiobook, or I might buy it. I don't know yet. I mean, most smart people would say you should listen to it on the Libby audiobook. But I'm always someone who's been tempted to buy books too and just have them in my collection. And then I just list another author number 3. I have just listened to her trilogy, Catherine Arden's trilogy, the Winter Night trilogy. Catherine Arden is such a prolific writer, and I've only read. I mean, maybe I can't really say that because I only read 3 or 4 books, but it's such an engaging story, so beautifully written. Now, I listened to it, of course, so I didn't actually physically see the writing itself, but just listening to her and listening to the narrator tell her story was just so interesting and beautifully written. I just got lost in it, and I definitely want to check out more of her work in the future. Next is Robert Jordan, which this is kind of interesting because I don't like how Tolkien, I struggled, and that's why I could never get past chapter 4 of The Fellowship. Tolkien's just heavy description, but maybe, and I don't know if I could ever read it now, but I'm probably not going to, so no one be like, oh, you should read it. You're not a fantasy fan if you don't read Lord of the Rings. Because I listened to it in audiobooks. I still took in the actual story from the actual novel. I just didn't physically read the books myself, but I have taken in the story. It counts. Even if you're not physically, the only difference is you're not physically reading the words, but someone else is reading them to you. So you're still getting the same exact words, you're just not physically reading them. Now I get when people say you're not completely paying attention, because most people listen to audiobooks while they're doing other stuff. Because a lot of people are, and myself included, are not going to just sit there and listen to an audiobook. Granted, I could do things like color and stuff, but I like to multitask. Just to save time. And, but I still took it. I heard the exact words that Tolkien said. Every single word in every single page of all 3 books. So just because I'm not physically staring at the words and saying them to myself in my head, just because I'm not the one saying the words doesn't mean it doesn't count. I'm sorry. I just think it's so stupid that, that there are people that will actually say it doesn't count and you didn't read the book because you didn't actually physically stare at the words yourself. To me, that's ridiculous. I mean, basically, what about those people who can't? What people that are blind? That can't physically stare at the words? What if there are people that have to listen to, or what if there are people that can't, that they're not blind, but they can't read at all? There's a, dyslexia. That's a real thing. Are you telling me that if they like reading but if they don't actually try to read a book, that doesn't count then? To me, that is not fair. And that is messed up if you assume that, it doesn't count for listening to an audiobook. And you have to clarify that you are listening, not physically reading. But anyway, back to this 7 on Sunday. So I bring up Tolkien because Robert Jordan, I feel like he kind of writes like Tolkien. And I had no trouble getting into reading Eye of the World. I have not read the second one, but I was hoping to read it this year, but then time passed me by and I never got around to it. But I really liked it, and I actually kind of like that writing. I really like the book. I'm going to keep going with the series. I really enjoy it, although I'm nervous about the slog, because I know there's a slog in the middle of his Wheel of Time series. But I'm going to keep reading it. I want to prove, that, I want to be one of the people who keeps going with it and enjoys it the whole way through. And I just really like the story. Although the thing about a lot of these authors is it depends on the story. I'm very much a plot-driven reader. It depends on the story. I'm not, it's not necessarily about the writing. But the writing, sometimes it's about, because I'm one of the people who like Starless Sea. People talk about how it doesn't really have much of a plot, but I personally loved it. And, I'm a plot-driven reader normally. But I'm also a fan of Erin Morgenstern's writing, but she's not new to me. I read The Night Circus, so. But yeah, Robert Jordan, so far, I'm definitely going to keep going with the series, and if he has other work out there, I'm definitely going to check it out. I'm going to try to check it out. Okay, and next is Sylvia Moreno Garcia. She is the author of Gods of Jade and Shadow, and then she recently came out with Mexican Gothic, which is kind of a modern take on the Gothic literature. And I've not read it, but I've seen it on Libby, so I might check it out on Libby. But I enjoyed her writing, and I enjoyed the story of Gods of Jade and Shadow, and Mexican Gothic sounds like a really interesting story and something that I might like. I haven't checked it out yet, but I'm definitely going to at some point. And I actually talked about this author in the last the Christmas Cookies book tag, but that's N.K. Jemisin. I enjoyed this. It was such a unique story. It did take me a while to get into, but I liked it. I thought the story was interesting. I'm glad I gave it a second chance. And I'm going to check out the rest of the trilogy at some point. I don't know when, but it was such a cool story, and I can see why it won an award. Like I said, the first part of the second person narrative was a little off-putting, so I don't know if I'm going to keep going, but, so I don't know if the other books, but I really enjoyed this, and I'm going to keep going with it, and I might check out some of her other, her other work as well. I'm trying to, is this... Okay, so this is the Broken Earth trilogy. So, Inheritance trilogy is the other one, and then Dreamblood duology is the other one. So I'm gonna keep an eye on that. I might get those at some point. But they have the Inheritance trilogy in one omnibus edition. So that might be easier to get than this one. Than, each individual book. Because at least I'll have all the books. But I'm wary about omnibuses because omnibuses are big books. It has the whole thing in it, but, it's not as easy to travel and it's not as portable like the one book. But I'm working on the year of big books in 2021, and an omnibus is the big book. More so physically. And then the last author I said was, technically she's not new to me, but I actually finished one of her books this year because it was a shorter book. And that is George Eliot. And I decided, because it's a shorter one, to read Silas Marner. So I'm including her, even though technically it doesn't count. I'm including her anyway. And I really like her writing. I know not everybody likes her writing, but I think, there's some interesting, there's almost a fairy tale-esque feel to her writing, or at least to Silas Marner. And I'm glad I read that one, because now I can say I've officially read at least one book by George Eliot. And I'm also, and I enjoy Middlemarch. I just haven't finished it yet. Because it's a chunk of a book, but I'm gonna work on that this year. This coming year, I should say, not this year, as in 2021, I'm gonna work on reading bigger books and finishing some of the big books that I've started, like Middlemarch. So yeah, those are my 7 new to me authors. And if you want to do this, I'll post the link to Grace's group, but if you want to just do this just for fun and not be part of the group, feel free to share your top 7 new to you authors this year. And if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't already, click the bell notification when I post if you want to know when I post new videos. I hope you are constantly washing your hands, wearing your face mask when you're out in public, staying 6 feet apart from people, and being kind to each other, and of course being kind to each other. And I will talk to y'all later. Alright, bye!